Given the following code segment, select the response that has the correct output and correct justification. So the way to approach this problem is to review the function calls and then review how they're being called in main to see what might happen. So here we have a templated function with a void star reference, and we allocate t here, and then we add t, and then we allocate u of whatever the generic type is. And then we reset the reference pointer. This appears to be correct. Print node values, we start at reference, and we print out whatever the type of t is, we add, and then we print out u, we reset the pointer. So set node and print node appear to be correct. So now let's look at main. In main, we allocate node size of double and float, and then we allocate those 12 bytes on the data heap. Now we have set node, and we put negative 0.625 and 1.5625. This is where the code becomes problematic. The computing device, by default, makes this a double. So it'll actually put 64 bits here for the first one, which we want, but then it'll allocate 64 bits when we only want 32, which means when we try to access it later as a float, like we're doing here, we're actually going to get some gibberish. Specifically, we went over this in lecture, we have little endian, which means we actually get the trailing zeros of the double precision floating point. As a result, we're actually going to get negative 0.625, and we're going to get 0. So let's look at what we get. We get incorrectly prints the float values, and C++ sets decimals by default to double, which we said. So interpretation of those 32 bits ends up being a 0. So the answer is C.